Okay, well, my name is Desayo, and I'm your friend. I'm a Harvard-trained ex-Wall Street professional helping real people take full control of their money. And I'd like to have you on this channel, so subscribe before we jump in. Subscribe right now. Do it. Okay, cool. So let's talk about what market is good for first-time home buyers. If you're a first-time home buyer, or maybe even the second-time home buyers, is there really like a defined good market? And that's not about the headlines. Oh my God, interest rates are low. I mean, COVID was a good time because of interest rates, but also during COVID, other things were going on, and the world was largely uncertain, and people just didn't know what to do. So it's not just about the headline numbers; it's about how that number or the headlines fit into your context. The first thing I would really talk about is understanding that your maximum approval is not like a freebie. It's not like, oh, go to town, like you got my black card, like bye. Your maximum approval, you sort of don't want to touch that. You want to come in below your maximum approval just for your own safety and your own sanity. You also want to negotiate. Don't go to the table without negotiating. The other person is ensuring that they're, asking you for their best, or at least like close enough to their best. So if you have wiggle room here and there, take it. Take your wiggle room, be prepared to negotiate, figure out what that looks like. Sometimes it may not be the number. Sometimes it may be, credits here, credit there for certain things, but be ready to negotiate and negotiate like someone who understands what they're doing. You also want to sort of think about, like, is the market at a place where it gives me options, or am I limited to just this one home that I've seen on this street? I don't sort of love it, but I can make it work. Are you limited in option? Or does the market generally provide you, a few options that you can toy around with, just like that way you're able to cherry pick in a way, because again, this is a long-term purchase. You can't come back in 3 days or in 3 months and say, you know what, I'm over this. This relationship isn't working for me. Goodbye. No. That's not how that works. In some markets, to be honest, you'll be able to get rid of a property very quickly, but you don't know when the tides are going to turn, and you don't know how quickly you might be able to get out of your situation, even if you had to, or even if you wanted to. You also want to come to the table informed, right? So there's certain incentives that could, be the situation, or like a first-time home buyer can get this, and do your research, look at your county, look at your state, look at federal incentives. Whatever incentives are available, you want to make sure you're taking advantage of it. Do not leave money on the table because you didn't do your research on such a big purchase. Dear, you know better. You're smarter than that. Take whatever government assistance is available for you. Be sure to take advantage of that. Look, do your research, dig and make sure that everything that you can and you have access to, or that is your entitlement, or that you can take advantage of, that you are doing so. Not because you absolutely need it, but because why not? Why shouldn't you? You also want to determine what this home is for you. Is this home your forever home? Is this a starter pack? Is this a step into the future? What are you trying to do with this home? Am I just trying to play equity in this home and then I'm going to upgrade? Is this like, no, I need school district because my kids are going to grow up here, and like I need this and I need that, or proximity to the office. This is where I want to work for the long haul, or I want to be, close to downtown because that's where all the marketable positions for my, my skill and expertise and my industry is. I want, you have different perceptions and perspectives on what you're looking for. So you need to predefine that before you even jump into whether or not you should be making this purchase at all. So if it's a forever home, you want to optimize for comfort, stability, maybe school districts, space, maybe some greenery. So if you do have kids, or if you have people over, whatever the case is, you have room to, to live. If it's just because, it's a stepping stone, I just want to get in, get my feet wet, get my first knowledge, then you want to optimize for resale. Your entry points at that point, your entry price at that point is very important. Optionality. Is this a location that people are growing in? Is this a growing location? Is this something that if I put on the market, it can really be desirable to other people? Or what am I optimizing for here? And if it's a rental, location, layout, is it optimized for a rented situation? Whatever that looks like for you. If you're doing, single rooms, or like buy the room? Is this optimized for that? Or is this like a multi-unit complex and I can actually rent it in the way that I want, like it makes sense in my head. Like you want to look at the layout of the property. What can I do with this property that can make it even more appealing to renters? Because renters also treat properties like their own, right? Well, I say that very cautiously and very carefully, but they also want to feel the emotion, is what I mean. They want to feel the emotion of, I just rented this place. Oh, it's comfortable. They're not in there knowing that it's not theirs, but also like just not loving it. They have to, in a way, be emotionally attached to it, whether they own it or not, whether they treat it like theirs or not. They want to make sure that they feel peace and comfort in the home that they're paying for, if they're paying for it for that short time. And so you want to make sure that it's also optimal for such purposes, if that is your purpose going in. So you have to understand what your goal is with this home to begin with. And before you start choosing kitchen countertops and tiles and things like that and floor types, you also want to understand what are the permittable things in my location. So some locations will have basements, some locations don't have basements. Do not be shocked by that. It varies state to state, landscape and things like that. Some locations will also have something called ADU, which is accessory dwelling units. If you're from Nigeria, you know what we call like the boys' quarters, where you have like another dwelling unit on the same property. Some states will allow that. Some states don't. And all of these things factor into how you want to utilize the property. You just need to be aware of what space you're playing in, what state you're playing in, what location you're playing in, and how that fits into your life and fits into your context. You want to know, if I absolutely needed to rent a room, what does that look like? Am I getting myself into a condo situation where tenants are not permitted? You want to know. You want to know, can I convert the space at a later time? If I wanted to use the space for XYZ, is that permissible? Is there something I can do with this purchase? Because again, the length of time that you're going to be contractually obligated to pay for the space warrants that you do as much digging and as much due diligence before you sign on the dotted line. Closing is fun and it takes all of 30, 45 minutes, but after that, everyone goes home, they exchange keys, and it's now your problem. And it can lead you in bankruptcy if you don't do. Bankruptcy is a little bit further out, but it is a consequence of lack of payment. In what ways can I add value to this property over time? And if I do that, does that increase the value of this particular property that I'm sitting in compared to the other pairs around? And how much upgrade can I really do without feeling out of place, right? Like if all the homes in the neighborhood are just like not looking good, no matter how much of a skyscraper I build, how much equity can I actually command in that? Or is this like a gentrifying location that if I buy early, I can then do more, things? You want to make sure that you are contextualizing and thinking and making the right bets, but doing research, doing your homework. No one can do that for you. You are the one that's responsible, and you have to do that again. Personalize all of this to your context, to your reality, to your situation before you send on the dotted lines. So, like I mentioned, you want to make sure that you're thinking about your numbers. Your numbers. After everything that we talked about psychologically, your numbers are still a part of the equation. How much is your mortgage? How much is your property tax? How much is your insurance? What is your HOA? I've seen HOAs go as far as $1,000 on top of your mortgage. And yes, your HOA could sue you if you don't pay for non-payment. So it's as much a contract as it is to your mortgage lender. But your mortgage is $1,500, but your HOA is $1,000. Your mortgage is $2,500 all in. Yeah, that's how it works. So you want to really understand all the different, no matter how small, numbers that go into the numbers that you have to calculate at the top line. Maintenance is real, and it will hit you like a wrecking ball in the face when you least prepare for it. Okay, so there's situations where it was just the most inopportune time and things were just breaking back to back. If you don't have any reserve to fall on at that point in time, it may just really be uncomfortable. Okay, so you want to make sure that you are going in eyes wide open, all I's dotted and all T's crossed. Okay, foundation shift, roofs age, water heater units are gonna go out. Your refrigerator at some point. I think the lifetime of a refrigerator is about 5 to 7 years, and some will give you up to 10 years. But at some point, they will date out, and you have to replace them. And all of these things you have to pre-plan for. Another thing that I I am not a fan of, I am not a fan of at all, is very old homes. But I realized that in certain climes, especially like places like the Northeast, maybe even in places like California, like that's just the reality. That's what's on the market. The homes are just old. That's fine if that's a location that you prefer. It's just that you need to realize that these homes, no matter how old they are, once you sign on the dotted line, no matter how much you bought them for, repairs are also in your name. So walk in knowing that repairs are not going to be your mate. You're going to have to pay a lot of money for repairs. They may not show up at closing. You can get seller credits all you want. You may be able to take care of some of those things if they're replaced and, whatever the case is. And of course, homes, continue to get refreshed and things like that. And you want to make sure that to the extent that's important and possible for you, that you optimize. If you can get a new roof, do it. If you can get something to a foundation, do all the, especially the structural stuff. But will you still have to do maintenance work on old homes? Yeah. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but you would have to. You would have to, absolutely. And if you're not ready for endless maintenance, maybe that's not what you want to sign up for. But if that's all that's available to you, I want to make sure that you are not walking in blind, that you at least know what you're getting yourself into and you can prepare for that, because now knowledge can be power for you. And your cash buffers at the end, a while after close, like after you get the keys, is super important. We've talked about this extensively on this channel. 6 months reserve, 6 months minimum of some type of buffer of your lifestyle is very important, but even more so of your mortgage. Even if you aren't eating, you still have to pay this mortgage. Okay. So making sure that you at least you're able to pay for that. You're able to service that contract month on month on month is super important. Of course, have the emergency fund. If anything were to happen, again, that's separate from your active cost of living there, whether it's HOA and whether it's like your mortgage. Maintenance is completely separate. So you want to have that. And even after all of that, making sure that you have funds for moving and to your taste of furnishing can get pretty expensive if you weren't planning for it. So it's either you kind of phase yourself into furnishing the space or you do like a lump sum investment, whatever the case is, make sure that you're planning ahead for that. Moving can also come at a cost, whether you are, involving friends to just like make it a big party and like your friends come over and they help you move and, the cost is minimal, but there will be a cost. And if you just want it to be hands off, like, oh my goodness, I just did my nails and, that's cool. Or maybe you just are not able to, you don't have the capacity to move at that time and you want to, outsource that service. You could do that too. You just need to account for it financially. The bigger point is like if something breaks, if something were to go wrong, you want procedure. You've already planned for it, you've already thought it out versus panic and like trying to figure everything out all in the middle of a mess. Here are a few things I would personally refuse to buy. A home that's outside of my approval or my approximate approval, or that's like knocking on my approval. I, personally wouldn't want that stress. And if you have room for that sort of, oh, I'm expecting a raise, so I'm going to buy ahead of that raise, I would advise you not to, but you can go for it if you absolutely had to. I also wouldn't want a monthly payment that will consume all of my margin, all of my flexibility, then what else is left for me. I wouldn't want that, something that completely steals my entire paycheck. It's a little bit too expensive and too costly. A property that I cannot realistically comfortably maintain, I would also stay clear of. Anything that I know that I'm really just optimizing for optics, like it's just like, oh, I want to live next to my best friend, or when I know my best friend and mine financial numbers don't be looking alike. All financial preferences don't look alike. I wouldn't do that too. You want to do what works for you in your situation as an individual, as a person whose name is on the contract. Okay. Lastly, a home that only works when everything goes right. I understand you've done the numbers and they fit perfectly, but do you have room? Do you have any wiggle room at all? If everything has to go right for you to afford that home, darling, you cannot afford that home. Point blank, period. Because things are going to go wrong. It's just the way life is. Things will go wrong. Everything that can go wrong might go wrong. And you want to plan for that. A zip code is nice, but it doesn't pay the bills. Hope is not underwriting. You could pray all you want and, want the underwriters to give you something, but that's that. Hope is not underwriting. And waiting may not be passive. You could be actively waiting. You could be actively preparing for your next level, for your next big purchase. Paying off your consumer debt, you could be saving more. You could be strengthening your financial life, strengthening your credit so that you can, get the better side of that interest rate, because there's still a range of the interest rate. Try to increase your flexibility, your margin, how much you have on hand, or how much investment, how much cushion you have where anything to go wrong. So waiting can be active. It doesn't mean it's passive. It doesn't mean it's a failure. It doesn't mean taking a step back as like, oh, you're retreating. You're not kind of going for, you're not ambitious enough or going for your goals, or not brave enough. Sometimes it's protecting yourself, protecting your future sanity. And that's also good. And in fact, that's super good. You want to understand that, your first home can set the structure for your financial psychology. I've seen people who bought their first home. Unfortunately, they were belly up and you're like, you know what? I'm not dealing with real estate again. Like, this is bad. This is really bad. If I'm able to get out of the situation, I'm just not going to mess with it. It's just not for me, because they made the wrong decision and that was their first foray, and they just don't have any other experience to juxtapose against. And, it burned them and they're like, I'm out. So realize that your first jump into this ocean can determine the taste that lives in your mouth. You don't want to buy tight. You don't want to buy stressed. You don't want to possess something that possesses you and like doesn't give you room to even breathe and sleep in that same said property. And you need to understand that confidence compounds. Confidence compounds. Confidence compounds. If you do it well the first time, yay you might feel like, you know what? Maybe I could take the next step. Maybe I could do something differently. Maybe I could sell this, rent this, that confidence can bolster your bravery into the next deal. Buying a home can be emotional. You walk in and you're like, oh my goodness, this is where my Christmas tree is going to be. I'm going to put my kids here. I'm going to put our pictures here. All of this, I'm going to change this. You could get very emotional very quickly, very compassionate about this purchase, but it is not about your ego. It is not about your preferred lifestyle. It is not about your dreams and aspirations. It's about what you can realistically afford at that time of purchase and for the foreseeable future. Again, I know I did use a timeline of a 30-year mortgage. You could do a 15-year mortgage, but it's still 15 years, right? 15 years is still not a year. It's still not 10. That's still more than a decade and a half. So there are different ways to slice and dice the real estate business and the real estate market. It's just what works for you needs to be contextualized to you, and you need to understand the reality of things and the weight and the heaviness of the responsibility, and you need to be ready for it. Okay. I want my home to give me freedom. I want my ownership to not tie me in shackles and like hold. I don't want all of that. I want something that gives me some level of structure, something that I have flexibility and margin in. If I were going in to buy my first home, I would be looking for optionality. I will be looking for flexibility. I will be looking to buy within my reach comfortably if anything went wrong. Okay. So buying a home is great. It's good. You might feel accomplished in things, but you need to go in understanding the numbers, understanding the risk, and having backup plans for your backup plan. And if you like content like this, why don't you brag about it? Brag about it. Brag about it. And you're like, well, how should I? Subscribe and hit that notification bell. Join the family. We will love to have you. Of course, if you like to hear me yapping, I will be dropping another video very, very soon. So you better turn on that notification bell and join me on my next one. I'll see you soon.